Okay, so yes, let's talk a little bit. And okay, so if you go to week one, in CCLE, what you want is go to my oops, let me open this in a new window. Okay, so I'm going to open this up in a here. We've got this. Okay, so this is my the repository that I've done for the class. Okay, and it looks like 39 of you have forked it. Okay, ideally all 70 of you will eventually, because this is where I'm going to post course content. Okay, and so since the last class, I think on Friday, I had 3 files: license, command, new.txt, and since then I've added several files: script 1, script 2, stuff related to today's lecture, slides, the IPython notebook, the slides in HTML, and a git ignore. Okay, and you're going to want to get copy these things into your local directories and folders. And so if you followed the steps that I did on Friday, or at least followed the steps that I've done that I've listed out in week 1 on CCLE, hopefully your repository is going to be set up. Okay, and so I'm going to switch over to my other computer to show you the steps that you would go through to sync your repository with my repository. Okay, and again, just like everything else, the first few times you do it, it's going to feel a little awkward, a little. You're going to wonder, why do I have to do this? But I'm hoping that that you will start to gain an appreciation for Git, in the sense that it's just a few commands to get your repository in sync with mine. And so in times when I upload several files all at once, the traditional way is you would have to download each file individually from CCLE, and it could be a tiny bit annoying to do something like that. But I'm going to, but I'll show you how we'll do this over here. Okay, so let me switch over to my other computer here. Okay, so we're going to click share here, and I just want to kind of verify that you guys can see what I'm doing on my Mac computer. Okay, yeah, all right, great. And you guys can still hear me okay. So so here I am. I open up Finder, and this is kind of my folder. And I have set up my Git repository for this class inside my documents folder. So this is it right here. Okay. Now again, it's different to it's different for you. Okay. So Kaishin said, is it normal that the forked page shows only 3 documents? Yes, it's normal that the forked page only shows 3 documents. Was the answer to the quiz mentioned? Not yet. I'll mention it in a bit. Okay. So your forked repository should only show 3 documents. But I have updated my repository, my upstream repository. Okay, and so again on the Mac, I'm going to right-click and do New Terminal at the folder, and I can see that I am in my terminal here. Let me increase my text size here. Okay, all right, and so I'm going to just type in git status. Okay, this is what I have. It says on branch master, your branch is up to date with origin master. Okay, and if I type in ls to see what's in there, again, I only have 3 files here as well. And what I want to do is I want to get my folder on my local computer. I'm pretending to be a student again, in sync with the professor's repository. Okay, so so what I'm going to do here, okay, is I'm going to just first, this is only going to work if you're remote, if you have set up the upstream remote repository. So you don't have to do this every time. If it's already set up, you don't need to do this. But I'm going to type in git remote -v. Okay, And the important thing that you need to see, okay, you need to see upstream is set up to go to Smiles Chen, which is the professor's account. That's me, the professor's account, okay? And so you need to have an upstream repository set up for indicating this, okay? The origin repository should say your GitHub username, okay? Your GitHub username, whatever that one is, okay? That should show up here under Redshirt Prof, okay? So, or whatever your username is, okay? So, and again, your upstream should show Smiles Chen, okay? And so the commands that you're going to use, okay, is you are going to do git fetch upstream, okay? And so this is going to fetch the changes that have been made in the upstream repository. So me, the professor, has uploaded several new files to this repository under Smiles Chen's account. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in git fetch the upstream changes, okay? And it says, okay, well, it's found a whole bunch of stuff, all right? And it downloads all of this, okay? And then the next thing we do is we want to merge the changes from the upstream repository into our own repository, okay? And so, so it's important that you are on your master branch. So if you're not already, you probably are, but just to be safe, you can type in git checkout master. Now, if you're always working on your master branch, this step is unnecessary, okay? It says you are already on master, right? So this step was unnecessary because I was already on master, but you know, it might be a good idea to check. So that command was unnecessary. But what you do, what you will do now is you are going to conduct a git merge, okay? We're going to merge the upstream repository with the with our local one. So we're going to do a git merge, and we want to take upstream master, okay? Git merge upstream / master to indicate we want the changes from the master branch of the upstream repository to merge into ours. Okay, so we're going to do git merge upstream master, and it tells us all of the things that it has done. It says fast forward, and it says, okay, you know, it added slides.pdf, these new files, 0201 IPyNB, these things, it added some new stuff here, okay? And so I can check here, I can do git status, okay? And it says on branch master, and now it says your branch is ahead of origin master. So what I need to do is I need to I need to push the changes in my local repository back to origin. So right now, if I go to my GitHub page, okay, as the student, right? All right, so right in here, this is my forked repository. It still only has the 3 files here, okay? My local repository, okay? My local repository on my computer has 8 of them, okay? And so what I need to do is I need to push these. So the last thing I'm going to do is going to be git push, okay? And so we are going to push these things to our GitHub account, okay? The student GitHub account, and I can check git status, and it says everything, your branch is up to date with origin master. And if I refresh the GitHub, it now has all of the stuff, all of these changes that we have done, okay? So again, the commands, if there's really just, assuming you are working on branch master, okay, so let me just type in a text edit here, okay? Kind of the 3 things you need is you need to do git fetch upstream. You're going to do git merge upstream, if I can type, stream master, and git push, okay? So these are kind of the things that you are going to run to get it to work, okay? So, all right, we have a question. Is there a way to update your remote repository without updating your local repository? No, not easily. I'm trying to think. There's not functionality in GitHub to do it just through the web browser or something like that. I mean, you can do a pull request and things like that, but and to make changes in your remote repository, but it's not really designed for that. So you're gonna fetch the changes from your upstream to your local, and then you're gonna push the changes from your local to the remote repository. All right. If you guys want to take a minute to try that out, you can try that out. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and open up the lecture materials from today. And so this is pretty much how it's going to work. Each class I'm going to upload. Prior to class, I'm going to upload kind of course materials to my GitHub repository. And then kind of at the start of each class, you're going to kind of run these 3 commands: Git Fetch Upstream, Git Merge Upstream Master, and then Git Push. And that will get your directory in sync with mine, okay? Are there any questions on this? After I Git Push, it asked for my GitHub username. I entered mine and it said failed. Any ideas why? No, I don't know why. Perhaps you did not, it sounds like maybe you have set up your connection using HTTPS rather than SSH. That might be a possibility. And so, you know, one thing you can do is you can check again, git remote -v, okay? And if it says git, git at GitHub, then this will be an SSH thing. But if you see an HTTPS, it means you've kind of you've cloned your repository using HTTPS, which I think has different protocols as far as authentication, and I think that's where it would use your username. And let me think what else. I guess I can link a file, but you can look up, just search Google for changing your remote, I guess, address. Okay. All right. So why does the merge upstream /master not count as a merge commit in the history? Because the all you're doing is you are getting your repository to match the same repository. Okay, wait. So when you do a git merge, yeah, it's kind of you're catching up the commits in the upstream repository, and you're getting your local repository to catch up. Okay, and Carolyn says, when you clone the files, it has an option for SSH or the other thing. Make sure you select SSH. Yeah. So right, if again on here, when so again, this is your student account. When it says clone or download, there's a couple options here: clone with HTTPS or use SSH. So I recommend using SSH, using an SSH key. That's kind of how I've done it. But you can use it using HTTPS, and there, but it has different kind of security protocols there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my other computer, and take over from here, and we will we'll pick up the lecture. So let's see. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to introduce Jupyter and Anaconda and I guess, some very basics of Python, and I might not even get through our first lecture, but we'll see. Just curious, did your TA talk about installing Anaconda? Yes. Okay. Great. Great. Okay. So so I'm hoping you have Anaconda set up on your machine. Okay, you've got it installed, and to run it then, you can either, so if you're on a Windows machine, you're going to open up Anaconda prompt. Okay, so if you're on a Windows machine, you'll probably come to Anaconda 3, and you'll open either Anaconda prompt or Anaconda PowerShell prompt or whatever it is. I have mine pinned to the start menu here. Okay, and so so this is what it looks like for me, and for me, I'm going to type in. So one thing I will do is I'm going to navigate to kind of my folder. Okay, CD OneDrive. For me, it's under the teaching folder. And from here, I'm going to open Jupyter Notebook. Okay, I just type in Jupyter space Notebook, and this will launch. This will spin up the Jupyter server and open up the Jupyter server for me. Okay, and I'll just navigate into my repository. Okay, and hopefully when you have this set up, this will now be in sync with my repository, and you can open up this IPyNB file. Okay, and this will show. This should look something like this. Okay. Now there are lots of ways to run Python. Okay, and if you're on a Mac, just open a terminal window and you'll just type in Jupyter space Notebook as well. Okay, so so on Windows you can open either PowerShell or CMD, and on a Mac just open up any terminal window and you can take a look there. Okay, type in Jupyter Notebook and that should spin it up and get started. Okay. All right, so this is kind of what a IPython or what a Jupyter Notebook looks like. Okay, you can create a new notebook just by coming over here, going back to this page that kind of starts up when Jupyter starts up, and you'll come over here to New, and there's a few choices here, but yeah, probably you'll just do a new Python 3 notebook. Okay, and this will create kind of a new blank notebook. Okay, and this is where you can start entering code and entering or markdown cells. Okay, so a nice thing about Jupyter is it just keeps everything simple. It actually is able to handle 3 languages: Julia, Python, and R. Okay, and so that's where the name Jupyter comes from. And so you can install other kernels, but I don't know Julia, so I don't use it. And then as far as R goes, I really like RStudio and the R Markdown files. So so I just use those, use that for R. So pretty much for me, I use Jupyter almost exclusively for Python, but there is a possibility to use it for R. Okay, is it essential that we use Jupyter FX, or are we allowed to use Spider since the interface reminds a lot about RStudio? You know, yeah, Spider looks a lot like RStudio. That's true. Yeah, you know, there's a bunch of different IDEs that you can use. Spider, yeah, is the most similar to RStudio. Other options are, you know, PyCharm. Some people will use basically a text editor and you know, to write scripts and things like that. And so, you know, this is, I've kind of write this here. You know, there's many ways to run Python. One that's not recommended is to just type directly into the Python interpreter. So I think if you've installed Python, okay, okay, I don't even see where my Python interpreter is. But you know, if you've installed Python directly from the Python website, it'll probably just install the Python interpreter, and you can type commands directly into there. But that's probably not the best way to go. So yeah, Jupyter is just one option. I think there's some really nice features of Jupyter. It uses IPython, which is kind of an enhanced interpreter, which I highly recommend over the default Python interpreter. And so, so I just kind of want to showcase that. Okay. Let me see. What's the best way to present all of this stuff here? Let me see if I can pull up my slides. Okay. And so one thing that you can do with Jupyter is you can actually turn on these slideshow toolbars, and you can make a slideshow. Now, the slideshows aren't really designed for PDFs, but there is a way to export them to PDFs using NBconvert. But this was just created using a Jupyter notebook as well. So basically, you can see here is the notebook, and each of these cells will get turned into this HTML slideshow. Okay, and so you know, you just launch it just by typing Jupyter Notebook. And there's a couple modes to use with Jupyter, okay? One is you hit escape to enter command mode, okay? And you will know you're in command mode because when you have a cell selected in command mode, it's going to appear blue, okay? And then you enter edit mode by hitting enter or return on your keyboard, and that's going to change the cell from blue to green, okay? So here I am in edit mode, I hit escape, and I'm in command mode when it changes blue, okay? So blue is command mode, and I hit enter, and it's green, and now I am in edit mode, okay? And in edit mode, you can change, you can modify the contents of the cell. When you are in command mode, you will be kind of navigating the page. All right, so don't get those mixed up. It's very easy to get them mixed up, okay? And you'll start typing, and it will do commands in command mode, okay? And this is, okay, so on this page, I list off some keyboard shortcuts, okay? And I cannot stress how important keyboard shortcuts are to your experience with using Jupyter Notebook, okay? When you do you're gonna get your first homework assignment with a Jupyter Notebook soon. And I wanna almost challenge you to, you know, take your mouse and set it aside, kind of don't allow yourself to use the trackpad, okay? And try to keep all of your, keep your hands on the keyboard as much as you can, okay? And this will force you to work a lot faster, okay? It'll be slow at first, but you will learn the shortcuts, and then you will get faster, okay? So in the way Jupyter works is it operates using cells, okay? You type in B to put a new cell below your current cell, and A for above, okay? So B for below, A for above. So that's pretty simple. And so if you have this, if you start your new notebook here, okay? Here it's green, okay? So that means I am in edit mode. So if I type in B or A, it's just gonna enter a B or A into the cell, and we don't want that, okay? So you have to hit escape to enter command mode, okay? And B will enter cells below, and A will enter cells above. Okay, so here I just typed in B and A several times, and this is how you add a bunch of cells, okay? To delete a cell is you type in D twice, okay? D will, and it's D twice to kind of just prevent accidental deletion, okay? So you hit D twice, and that will delete a cell. D will delete a cell, D will delete a cell, okay? You can cut, copy, and paste cells by just typing X, C, or V, you do not need to actually hold down Control or Command in any of these things. So here I'm going to switch into edit mode, and I'm just going to type in a comment and say, this is an example cell, okay? And I'm going to hit escape to enter command mode. And I'm going to hit X to cut it, and I can move up, and I'm going to hit V to paste it, okay? And I can hit V again to paste it again. And so V will paste it, C will copy, and X will cut. And again, if I want to delete these, I'm going to hit D twice. And again, I'm doing all of this without touching my mouse. All right. To navigate, to go up or down from one cell to another, you can use the J and K keys, okay? And this, it feels a little strange that you're going to go up and down using J and K, but you will learn to appreciate that because your fingers are already, your pointer and your index finger and middle finger are already on the J and K keys when you're typing. And so all you have to do is hit escape to enter command mode, and you can hit J and K to move up and down. And that will save you a second from having to move your hand off of your home row and going up to the up and down arrow keys. You can use the up and down arrow keys on your keyboard to go up and down the cells, but you will learn to appreciate J and K to go up and down the rows in Jupyter. All right, within Jupyter, there are pretty much two important kinds of cells, okay? There's three kinds, Markdown, code, and raw, but the most important ones are Markdown and code cells, okay? So if you're familiar with using R Markdown, or just Markdown in general, then these will make sense to you, okay? So you, from command mode, when you enter a new cell, by default, it's going to be a code type cell. That's the default cell that enters. So when you're in command mode and you hit B to enter a new cell below, by default, it's going to be a code type cell, okay? So if I hit B, it enters a cell, and this is going to be a code cell. And inside a code cell, you can give it commands like 2 + 3, and you can run it. To run a cell, you hit Control or Command Enter, and it will run that, execute the code in the cell. And while in command mode, you can hit M, and it will switch to a Markdown cell. And you can tell it's switched to a Markdown cell, okay? Because the menu, if you look up here, okay, you will notice it now says Markdown, and it also gets rid of kind of the prefix box over here where it used to say in, now there's nothing there. So to switch it back to a code cell, while you're in command mode, while it's blue colored, you hit Y, and that will switch to code, okay? And it brings back, it switches to code, and it says in, or you can hit the letter M to switch back to Markdown. When you are in Markdown, you hit enter to enter edit mode, and here you can enter things like a headline. A headline uses a single hash mark, and you can say this is headline level 1. And then 2 hash marks would be headline level 2, okay? And then to render from kind of the Markdown into kind of formatted text, you can hit Control or Command Enter, and it will render it into something that looks like an output form, okay? So this is kind of what you have. See, there's actually up to 6 levels of headings, okay? So, and you just go down the heading level by adding more of these hash symbols, okay? The symbol above the number 3, you just add more of those things. And again, the biggest level headings just have 1. Heading level 2 has 2 of those, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on like that, okay? Once you get to 7, I think it becomes just normal text. Okay, other things in Markdown, okay? is you can make bulleted lists, okay? And if you want to include if you want to include code, like pre-formatted text, you can use the accent, the back accent key. That's the top left key next to the number 1 to turn things into kind of pre-formatted text from for things that look like code. Okay, so here I'm using the J key to navigate to this lower cell. I'm going to switch it to Markdown by typing in the letter M, and I'm going to just demonstrate. So here we're going to make a bulleted list. How do you spell? Okay, list. Okay, and we're going to do this is item 1, item 2, item 3. Okay, hit Control Enter and it renders. Okay, I'm going to enter a new cell by typing in B below. We're going to switch it to Markdown. I think if you do 1 parentheses, then you'll get a numbered list. Item 1, item 2, item 3. Okay. No, that didn't work. Maybe I'm making, oh, I think it has to be like this. Okay. 1 dot. All right. So that will be, that's another kind of list. Switch to Markdown, and again, code, you can write like, I don't know, 3 plus 5, okay? And this will render as something that looks like code. Okay, B to enter a new cell. If you have a lot of code to enter, you can do 3 tildes in a row, and you can do and all of this, you end it off with 3 tildes, and you can go back to say, you know, this is a heading. Okay, and the things that were in between the 3 tildes to start and stop will look like code there. Okay, so that's just Markdown basics. With Markdown, you can also enter math using LaTeX, okay, using the $sign. And I think a lot of you guys are familiar with this, maybe not. So you can always look up how to write math in LaTeX. And so here's an example of me writing out the normal PDF equation, okay? And so you can do, you know, fractions and exponents and stuff like that, okay? I don't want to get into that. Okay, when you have a cell, okay, you can run a code cell or render a Markdown cell by hitting Control Enter. So after you've edited a cell, you would hit Control Enter to render it, okay, if it's a Markdown, or to execute the code inside of it, you're going to hit Control Enter, okay. But what I often use is I use Shift Enter, okay? Shift Enter will run the cell and then automatically insert another cell. Okay, so let me just show you. Going back to here, I'm going to just do 3 plus 4, whoops, 3 plus 4, and I hit Control Enter, and that runs it, okay? And it says the output is 7. And then to get a new cell, I'm going to have to type in B, and I get a new cell, okay? But what I can do is I can do 5 times 5, and if I hit Shift Enter will run this cell and then insert one right below it automatically, okay? So that's often what I end up using. I end up using Shift Enter probably more frequently than Control Enter, okay? You can also do Alt Enter or Option Enter. That will execute or render and insert a new cell, okay? So let me just kind of show you the difference here. So let's say I make a change here. I do 3 plus 4 plus 6, okay? Control Enter will just run this cell, okay? If I make a change and I hit Shift Enter, it will run this cell and move to the next cell below. And then and if I make another change and if I hold down Alt Enter or Option Enter, it will run the cell and insert a cell below, okay? All right, question, is there an undo shortcut if you accidentally type the wrong command in command mode? Yes, okay, so in command mode, if you type in Z, it will often undo kind of your last, I think like deletion, okay? You cannot undo you can't undo something like running a code cell, okay? You can't undo running a code cell or undo rendering something, but Z will often do an undo. You can look up all of the shortcuts, and then again, I highly recommend learning all of the shortcuts. But you know, if you don't remember everything, you can always use your key mouse to navigate the menus, right? So as far as undo goes, yeah, it's going to be undo a delete, okay? But undoing other things like running a code, you can't undo running code. Once you run code, it's run. But if you deleted a cell and that was a mistake, you can undo that. All right, so there, so you know, you're allowed to use your keys, but I strongly recommend trying to do the most you can without lifting your hands off of the keyboard, okay? And at first it's gonna feel slow, but if you force yourself to do it, you will get faster, and then you'll watch someone else using their mouse and you will think, oh my goodness, you are so slow. I'm kidding, but using the keyboard will be much faster, okay? You can always get the list of keyboard shortcuts by typing in the letter H. So while you are in command mode, type in the letter H, and this will pop up a bunch of keyboard shortcuts in command mode. Okay, and I think it'll be it will kind of look at all of these things. All right, so you've got command mode, and so, you know, there's shortcuts to change a cell to heading certain levels and stuff like that. But I think I've covered the most important ones, okay? All right, when you use Jupyter, Jupyter uses IPython, and IPython has some really nice features over the regular old Python interpreter, okay? And so some of the stuff I haven't taught you any actual real Python, but I do want to just highlight some of the features of IPython that that will come in handy, and I'll continue to point these out here. Have I given any of the quiz question answers yet? I've totally forgotten about that, haven't I? Okay, all right, let's do this. Okay. Okay, so second week, Monday. Oh, look at that, that's easy. Both of the question answers are B. B as in boy. B as in boy. Okay, the letter B. Both questions, question 1 and question 2. B as in boy. Thanks for sticking around to watch. Okay. So we have that. Okay, so let me just show you some IPython features. Okay. All right, so here's some basic operations. So one thing about Jupyter is that if you have multiple operations in a cell, as far as the output goes, only the last expression will be printed, okay? So in the first cell, I did 2 plus 3 and it output 5, okay? In the second cell, I wrote 4 plus 5 and 5 times 5, okay? And it only outputs 25, okay? So each cell is actually only allowed to have kind of one output return value, okay? You can have, the cell can print out things, but that's not necessarily an output, okay? So here, if you wanted other things, so if I want both the answer to 4 plus 5 and the answer to 5 times 5 to appear, okay, I can wrap those in a print command, okay? So I can write, or print function, I should say. Okay, so I can write print 4 plus 5, print 5 times 5, okay? But notice there is no out there, okay? Because what print does is it's just printing things to appear on the screen, but it's not going to return a value, okay? So this is, you know, we'll get into what it means to return a value. But when you run print in Python, it returns none. That's like the null object. It returns the none object. So print commands return none, and therefore there's no out associated with the inputs in cell 3. Okay, so the inputs in cell 1 has a returned value of 5. The inputs in cell 2 return the value 25, and the inputs in cell 3 don't have a returned value. It outputs 9 and 25 to the screen where you can view it as a print, but there's no out associated with it, okay? And that's indicated by having the in and the out there, okay? And so, so this is something that is unique to IPython. IPython cells are preceded by in or out and some kind of number in there. And this will show you the sequence that you have written and executed your code. And it also allows you to access past entries and values. These are things that are not available in the normal Python interpreter, but these are features that the creators of IPython have added to extend the features of Python. Okay, so if I ask what was an in1, okay, and if we look back to that cell, in1 shows, you know, it shows pound basic operations 2 plus 3. And so when I type that in here, it says in1, this is what you typed in to cell in cell 1, okay? And I can also ask what is the output associated with out2, okay? And it's going to say the number 25, okay? And so so that's what we have, all right? And then out itself is known as a dictionary, and I'll explain what a dictionary is in Python. But out itself is a dictionary, and it shows kind of the first output was 5, the second output was 25. Remember back here, as far as the third cell that ran, there's nothing for there's no out 3, right? There was in1 and out 2, or in 2 and out 2 and in 3, but there was no out 3. And so you'll notice in this dictionary for out, okay, there's nothing for 3, okay? The output for in 4 was this thing, and so that's kept here, and then the output in 5 itself was 5, okay? In is a list, and this shows off all of the kind of the commands that we've written, okay? Including the most recent thing that I've written, which was in is a list in, and that shows up right here in, okay? And so as I execute these things get longer and longer. These lists get longer and longer, okay? We'll take a look at just some very simple operations that you can do. So you can do math operations with strings in Python. This is something fairly unique. So, so here I write 3 times, and I have the string hello, and it repeats it. It goes hello, hello, hello. Okay. You can take two strings, and if you put an addition sign in between them, it concatenates them. Okay. So I got hi plus goodbye, and I got hi goodbye. All right. Strings, we know that they are strings or string objects because they've got quotes around them. In Stats 20 or your 1 or 2A class or whatever your R classes, we call these things characters, character vectors or whatever. In Python, you know, we call them strings. Okay, but sometimes as I'm talking, I'll get tongue-tied and I'll call these characters or strings. But I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. Within Jupyter, you can execute other scripts. Okay, so you can write a Python script and you can execute them from the Jupyter cell. Okay, and so over here I've written two tiny little scripts. Okay, that are completely worthless. But here, if I go back to kind of the Jupyter main page and I open up script 01.py. Okay. This entire script, this is print hello world, okay? So this is the hello world script. And I can execute it by using what we call a magic command called %run, okay? So I write %run and then I type in the name of the script, okay? That script has to be in the same folder as your Jupyter notebook, or you have to provide the kind of the path, the relative or the absolute path to the script that you want to execute. So in this case, I want to execute this script here, %run, and so when I execute it, it prints out hello world, right? And because it was just a print command, there's no output associated with it, okay? Sometimes you will have variables defined inside the notebook, okay? So let me show you another script. Let me close that, okay? So here is another script, script 02.py, okay? And here it's gonna print hello space, and inside the notebook, I'm going to define a variable called name. And then the second line says it's Friday. That's actually false. It's Monday. So let me save that. Okay. And okay. Well, so these slides have already been rendered. So it will show the old result. Okay. But inside the notebook, I define a variable called name, and I put in my name, Miles. All right. And if I tried to execute this using %run script 02, all right, it gives me an error, okay? It says name is not defined, right? Because if we look inside this script, indeed, name has not yet been defined. So it gives me an error, okay? It gives me a runtime error. So what I have to do is I have to run %run -i. -i allows the scripts to access the variables that we have defined inside the notebook, okay? And when it does that, it will run hello Miles, it's Friday. Now, because I've rendered these slides ahead of time, it doesn't work here, but I think this is the active notebook here. So let me execute that thing. And so now it runs and it says, hello Miles, it's Monday. Okay, so that's great, okay? You can also execute bash and shell commands, or I guess Windows CMD commands from inside the notebook, and you just you put an exclamation point in front of it. All right, it says, what if two variables have the same name in two files? Will one mask? Yes, one will mask the other. So the variables inside the script will mask the ones inside the notebook. I'm pretty sure, yeah, okay. Or, well, as long as they're being defined inside the script, yeah. Okay, so here you can run cat. If you have a Mac computer, this will work because cat is a Unix command. But if you're on a Windows computer, the equivalent of cat is called type, and type just outputs the contents of a file onto the screen. Okay, so it works either for Windows or Mac, but just you have to use the appropriate shell commands. So on Windows computers, it's type, and on a Mac, it's cat. Depending on your machine, you know, one of these will run and the other will fail. Okay, and then so here there is the underscore character. Underscore all by itself is the last value. So I've done 3 times 9 gives me 27. Underscore is 27. It's the last value. Underscore minus 2 is 25. And if I ask just what is underscore, it tells me it's 25. Okay, if you need help, you just type in help around any kind of function, and that will work. Let me see. Comments are marked by a pound. I think I'm going to run out of time here. Okay, so I'll continue this on Wednesday. But so we'll end here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just update some of my things. Okay. Now, while you were watching today's lecture, you might have been following along in your notebook, and you might have made changes. Okay. If you have made changes, and so you have to make a decision about either committing those changes or not. If you make commits and I make commits to the same file, we're going to run into a merge conflict, and a merge conflict with a Jupyter notebook is kind of disastrous. So I will I'll have to decide if I want to get into notebook diff and merge to handle things like that. I would recommend, okay, we'll save this for Wednesday's lecture. Okay, basically from today's thing, don't make any commits to, if you've made changes to any of the files, don't commit them, okay? You can do a git reset -- hard to reset them to the last commit, and then I'll show you how we can merge changes to your files and my files and things like that in a future lecture. So right now, don't make any commits, otherwise you're going to run into merge conflicts. And okay, we'll end here for today. You can expect a homework assignment posted probably by Wednesday, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday then. All right, let me stop the recording.